this is Sarah Simmons from NBC The Voice, and you're listening to Dispatch Radio.
All right, Dispatch Radio, we are back, and Alex Snitker is on the line with us. We have now endured the horrifying results from the Northeast, where the liberal, I don't even know if they're liberal Republicans at this point. I'm not sure who votes in Rhode Island and Delaware and places like that whenever Bernie Sanders wins in some states and loses in others. But Donald Trump came away, way bigger wins than I thought he would have. And then, of course, Ted Cruz just came up just totally empty, total snake eyes in all these states, putting all his eggs in one basket in Indiana. And, of course, looking ahead by announcing Carly Fiorina as a VP candidate. And Alex, I'm sure, will have lots to say on these topics. And Snitker, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good. If I was doing any better, they'd find a way to tax and regulate it.
I'm sure they already are working on a plan. So don't speed along the process, my friend.
Nice.
So Trump comes away even a bigger win than I think any of us anticipated. I mean, really, Cruz and Kasich came up with basically just next to nothing to show for it. If we add Jersey, this puts Trump right around 1,000 because there's no chance he'll lose in Jersey. So, if it gives him right at about 1,000, is there really a mathematical way? I mean, I think there's a mathematical way he could come up short of 1237, but not with the wheeling and dealing with Kasich and Rubio delegates. Do you pretty much see it the same way?
Yeah. The only person that can win first ballot at this point is going to be Trump. I think that's the only one that can win first ballot. However, the other ones in the race could still geek it up. I don't know for sure if they're going to be able to even do that because the whole thing where they tried to do a little, you saw where Kasich and Cruz tried to do a little, I wouldn't say a collusion thing, but they tried to do a little, well, let's kind of work together and try to beat him. That didn't even last a day. Like, it got killed quick.
Yeah, I don't think Kasich really understood what the criteria were going to be because he was immediately talking to the press as though he was still going to be the presumptuous candidate. So I'm not sure that anything we say to John Kasich right now registers. So I don't even know why the Cruz campaign would bother at this point. Now, Cruz has kind of backpedaled a little bit, too, to say, well, no, we didn't really say, I wasn't telling my people to go vote for Kasich. I was just saying I'm not going to devote resources in those states. So I don't know what happened there. It's kind of a mess. But either way, you're absolutely right. Cruz can't get enough delegates to get to 1237, obviously. But more importantly, I think that right now I'm hearing sources saying, there's a Rubio deal possibly in the mix. Obviously, we've always talked about Kasich and Trump somehow joining forces down the road that give him Ohio, those kinds of things. So is that still what you think will happen and that we will get Trump on first ballot, or do you think it'll actually go beyond that?
It's looking to me like a first ballot deal now. I mean, it really is. I don't see how it's not going to be that way. But, what this is where, we talked a little bit before about the momentum. And I think what you're seeing now is that actually does mean something. Like the momentum now actually has a meaning. And so if that's going to continue, and I think it's going to, these other states that normally weren't ever contested and never really mattered are going to matter a lot now.
Well, we've already seen that, right? I mean, obviously, I think the turnout that we saw, I was reading that of the states that have voted, 5 of the lowest 6 turnouts were in these last elections, New York forward. So it shows the Northeast. These are not GOP Republicans that are ready to turn out and vote, even when there's so much on the line. So these Indiana, I think, is crucial because I think if Cruz doesn't come away with that, then I think that gives Trump a very clear mathematical possibility. If Cruz gets Indiana, it does muddle it up a little bit. But as I say, if Trump is only 100 votes away, or let's say 50, 100, 150, I don't know where the threshold is, he's within the margin of negotiation, I think, with the Rubio case. Do you think Rubio would put aside the ego and go, well, I'll be little Marcos, I'm a VP candidate, at least I get something out of this?
Well, I don't know if he even wants anything out of it at this point, though. I think that he's actually it seems to me like he's a little dejected. And, if you've seen some of the interviews, I know he's come back a little bit, but I don't think he wants to have anything to do with the presidency at this point in 2016. I don't think he wants a VP spot. I don't think he wants to deal with any of that stuff. And I think it's because he really doesn't want to deal with Trump. I think that he really does not like a guy like Trump. And, I think ideologically, we've talked about it before. Ideologically, Marco Rubio is a committed neoconservative. There is no getting around that. That is what he is. And Trump is not that. And I don't think that he wants to deal with those people. I don't think he wants to give those people any kind of advancement whatsoever, which is why like the McCains of the world are willing to not support any of those people because I'd rather have Clinton win. She's closer to me on foreign policy than what Trump would be.
Yeah, that's very true. So let's switch then. Does Cruz naming Fiorina matter at all, or is it just a Hail Mary, an act of desperation? What are your thoughts on that?
It's definitely a Hail Mary. It was too late of a Hail Mary anyway, though. I mean, it really, at this point, again, you're going to pull this out after after it's mathematically impossible for you to do it, hoping that you're going to be able to convince some delegates to go that way. I think it's. I think Trump called it before this way. It was kind of a Keystone Cops move. Like it was, even if it was a good move, it wasn't even done at the right time. And again, now you're doing this almost to placate to women. And it doesn't make any sense, but then again, what in this election cycle has really made a lot of sense anyway.
Well, I'll play devil's advocate because I actually foretold that that's who he was going to pick, and I'm okay with the pick in the sense of what Cruz is trying to accomplish. Timing is a different argument. I think that they probably went into the Northeast thinking, as I predicted, I thought they would get 10 or 20 or 30 delegates. I thought they would just nitpick around the fringes, and there's a few counties and things like that. But no one in the Northeast cared. No one was turning out. He wasn't getting anything. So I believe the reason that the Carly move was made because he needs to figure out how to navigate the Midwest, and now he can split resources because he can send her to California, really try to make sure he keeps that group energized. He's had ground game there for like a year, they say. She's got a lot of resources in California and things of that nature. Obviously, I think the women appeal, almost goes without saying. But more importantly, I think Fiorina, if there was any strength she had, it was only her ability to just consistently get away with attacking Trump and attacking Hillary.
Yeah, no. And as a woman, she has that advantage. I mean, that's one of those things where, the rules are a little bit different when it comes to a woman candidate than a man candidate. But, is it going to be enough? I just don't think it's going to be enough. I don't think this train is, I don't think the Trump train's getting derailed. I mean, and again, I have no skin in the game on this one. It's not like it finds me joy or pleasure to even say it. However, it is what it is at this point. I mean, other people can argue different things, but Trump's going to get this nomination at this point. And now it's going to be, is he going to be able to beat Hillary?
All right, so let's look at that. The polls are a disaster for Trump. Some of the worst polls in the history of polls. I don't know all time. We can't say all time, but in the history of having polls, Trump is polling worse with millennials, Hispanics, women. He's not winning or doing well in any of these categories. I've heard all the arguments on how he can win and he's whatever, and I hear the delusional Trumpers talking about how he'll win New York and all these different things like that. It's just not going to happen. So, let's just assume he does win. Where are you at on how much devastation does he do to the Republic? Is it worse than the Obama administration? Or is it that Clinton is actually the lesser of the two choices? I'm not asking you to vote. I'm just saying in the general conversation of things.
Well, it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell on how much damage he will do. I think the worst case scenario is he would be worse than what you would see out of Obama. And in the best case scenario, I think that you would see somebody, I hate to use a wrestling cliche, but it seems to me that Trump is the kind of guy that does what's best for business. Now, what business is he doing what's best for? If he was doing it for the blue collar guys and all that stuff, the protectionism stuff's going to backfire, and I don't think he can really do any of those things. He can do some of that stuff. When it comes to the trade deals, look, we've been doing bad trade deals before. Is this guy going to do worse trade deals than what we've had before? And is he going to temper himself to not cause an international incident because somebody didn't say something nice about him? So depending on which one you get up there, and you still don't know which one that's going to be, it's hard to tell on who's going to be the worst. I do think that with Clinton winning, though, I think we got 8 more years of Clinton. I wouldn't want to see that either. I think I'd almost rather deal with 4 years of Trump than 8 years of Clinton.
All right, so I heard on the rumor mill, just your thoughts. I can't imagine this happening, but I guess whenever Joe Biden went to go meet with her, I guess this could be part of the conversation. Now I'm hearing grumblings, and one of them was a pretty reliable source that says there's the conversations now that she may actually pick Elizabeth Warren to be the VP.
Warren have to say yes. I mean, I don't know if she would actually even say yes to this at this point, though. I mean, as bad as Hillary is that right now, I don't know if they want to touch her, but maybe it depends. I mean, it depends if I think she's a hypocrite or not.
One heartbeat away, You get all the Sanders momentum. You get to piggyback all of that. You get to take all that. I mean, it almost seems like it was a decent sell. I mean, it doesn't really matter if she likes Hillary or not. It just means like, well, I can get my movement. I can do this. I can do that. It almost seems like a perfect sell. And at that point, I don't know how it can be stopped.
I don't know. It's tough. It's a tough call. I have a hard time answering it because I have a hard time seeing that person would say yes. Because if they say yes, and if she says yes, then the anti-corporate attacks are going to come from both of them, and it's going to come on both of them then at that point. And Warren's going to get accused of it just as well as Hillary's going to get accused of it, and that's going to be enough to where. Look, what the Democrats have to do in order for them to win this election, though, is they have to make sure that they get turnout. And, when we talk about the polls and we talk about how Trump is doing terrible in a lot of these areas, and I would agree that he's doing terrible in a lot of these areas. However, what he is good at is that there are a lot of people that are enthusiastic about him. And the reason Obama won re-election was because less people voted for, less people turned out for the Republican nominee in the last election cycle than he did in that cycle. But he lost numbers too. And if he lost numbers, and then, the black community is just not going to be turned out like they were turned out for Barack Obama. That's just the way it is. So that means that those people aren't going to go out and vote. So the polling, while I think that there's definitely some value to how negative it is, you still got to see what's the turnout going to be, because the turnout for the Democrats is down right now tremendously.
Well, it seems like that's where Elizabeth Warren seems like she'd be a good pick. I couldn't argue with the situation only because it seems like, yeah, she's got to hold her nose and she's got to deal with some of the corporatism and some of the things and whatever, but at the same time she can energize and become this way of, I don't want to say pulling their party together, but basically like keeping the socialists happy. You're going to energize the youth, you energize the socialists that Bernie represents, and I think that would be enough to at least be competitive, if not win outright. So it's definitely been interesting. I love having Snitker on the phone, talk about the different things. We'll check in here soon, keep you guys abreast of what's going on. And Snitker's always good as always, my friend.
Oh, my pleasure, Brandon. Have a great day, brother.